Alrighty, I got a 2010 Sienna, and this switch for the rear hatch has this rubberish cover that kind of turns into sticky, gooey mess after a while. It's kind of like black electrical tape that got really hot, very sticky. It's a mess to work with. Anyway, the hard part is getting these two screws that hold this whole assembly together. So on either side of the switch, you can see this Phillips head screw. I've just kind of poked it here so you can see it. And you need some kind of very short Phillips head screwdriver. This is a hex ratchet drive that's a short profile. And I had to take the license plate off because the bracket got in the way of the head of the screwdriver. So it's kind of a pain in the ass to get these two screws out. But once you get those two screws out, back again. Once you get these two screws out, they expand a plastic tab that keeps this switch mounted in place. So when the screw is out, you can take a scraper blade and put it along this edge here between the car and the nylon switch, and be very careful. Kind of pop it out, and I'll show you what it looks like once I get it out. Okay, here's the switch after it's popped out. You can see these little nylon things expand when the screws are in. So once you get the screws out, it will collapse and come out. You got to be really careful because this plastic's thin. There's a lot of old adhesive that's trying to keep this thing stuck together. If you live in a cold climate, I'd heat this thing up with a heat gun first. Make sure it's at least 70, 80 degrees so these parts aren't brittle or they'll break off. Okay, so the next step is to just take this thing and work the new black rubber cover over the edges of it. It kind of goes underneath and seals. And I'll show you that once I get it. Okay, so I thought I had this thing cleaned up enough, but obviously I didn't. I can show you the back side now. You can see this stuff here. This doesn't just come off, man. It's like really stuck on there. I'm probably going to have to use some acetone or some kind of solvent to get that off enough so that the new switch will fit around this very narrow lip. The new switch has to get behind this switch surface here so it seals when you put the thing back in. So this has got to be really clean so you can get that like little flange. Okay, it turns out there's an orientation to this switch cover. If you peel back the inside of this thing, you can see those two raised ridges. Or if you look at it from the side, you can see that the top edge, it has a very sharp chamfer on it, and the bottom one's very gradual. So that extra black ridge goes along the part of the switch that faces the rearmost part of the car and has this plastic ledge molded into it. It's probably a little hard to see on this, but anyway, once you got it in your hand, pretty easy to figure out. Also, these places where the gasket sets are asymmetric, and so also you'll be able to see from that which way that the thing goes. Okay, I've got this cover on, a little dirty from pawing on it, but you can see all these little spots that are cut out here. There's little tabs on the nylon switch that fit right into that to help it get locked in. I marked the rear of the switch when I pulled it down just so it doesn't end up getting turned around and put in backwards. Everything seems to fit pretty good. I mean, it's pretty decent cover given that it's not OEM. So now I'm going to pop it back up there, put the screws in, and show you the finished product in a minute. Okay, when you reinstall this thing with the screws, make sure you use the two that are provided with the replacement kit. So you can see these are the new screws. Not only are they not all rusty and kind of yucky, but they have a larger head. The gasket originally must have had a smaller cutout because these screws have a much smaller shoulder, and also they used a little like nylon washer, but you don't really need that. So make the lengths are the same, and the threads are the same. I checked that. So just make sure that you use the new screws and don't reuse the old ones, because it'll get a much better bite on that new cover gasket. Okay, here I am putting it back together. You can see my little hex drive thing really just barely clears. So you really need to have something like this that's a short profile to get these screws in. they go in pretty easy. They're going into nylon, and of course then they're securing the switch in place at the same time they're pulling the switch down and tightening the gasket surface against the car. Okay, there's the finished product. Got it in. I'm pretty happy with the way it seals here. The lip, the gasket lip that went under there seals tightly against the body of the car, against the panel, and the screws went in with no problem. The thing is secure, so, and I tried it and it worked. So, pretty happy overall. A lot of crap to clean up when you take that old gasket out, but that's really the only hard part of doing this.